today's video is about when you get into a fight and they protect you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and let's get going. The night air was crisp, a welcome relief from the stuffy atmosphere inside the club. The music still pulls from behind you, muted now as you stepped out into the quiet street. You tugged your jacket tight around your body, the cool breeze biting at your skin. The night had been fun so far. Loud music, good drinks, and being surrounded by people you loved most. But even with the warmth of your two boyfriends beside you felt the tension in the air. Kirishima was walking beside you, his arm casually draped over your shoulders, while Bakugo trailed slightly behind, eyes scanning the street with a wary sharpness. You knew who was always alert, especially in public places, but tonight something felt off. You okay? Kirishima asked you, glancing down at you with his usual easy smile. His red hair was still slightly messy from dancing, and you couldn't help but smile back, the warmth of his presence calming you. Yes, just a little tired, I guess. You replied, leaning into his side as you walked. But even as you said it, you couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had been following you since you had left the club. It wasn't anything that you could put your finger on, just a sense that something wasn't quite right. Behind you, Bakugo grunted. Could have fooled me with how you were tearing up the dance floor, he said, his tone gruff but affectionate. I thought you said you were tired earlier. I got my second one, he shot back, rolling your eyes, but you couldn't help but smile. Bakugo might act tough, but you had learned to hear the care in his words, hidden under layers of gruffness and sarcasm. You always get a second one when you're around us, Kirishima added, with a chuckle, squeezing your shoulder lightly. His hand dropped down to rub at your arm as he spoke. Guess we're just good for you like that, huh? Before you could respond, Bakugo's head snaps up, his body tensing like a coiled spring. Oi, he barked, his voice low and sharp. Did you hear that? You stopped in your tracks, your heart jumping in your throat at the sound of low voices drifted around the alleyway up ahead. Two figures emerged from the shadows, their movements slow and deliberate. They weren't just passing by, they were watching you. Kirishima shifted beside you, his usual laid-back demeanor quickly changing. His arm slid from your shoulders as he stepped forward slightly, positioning himself between you and the strangers. Bakugo was already moving, taking a step closer to you, his stance protective but relaxed, like a predator ready to strike. What's the deal? One of the men sneered, his eyes flicking between the three of you. Looks like you've got yourselves a little party. Mind if we join? You clenched your fists, a wave of fear and frustration washing over you. Why now? You just wanted a quiet night out with the people that you loved. We're good, thanks, Kirishima said, his voice still friendly, but there was an edge to it now. He wasn't the type to pick fights, but you knew he wouldn't back down from one either, especially not with you involved. Bakugo, on the other hand, was not so patient. Back the hell off, he growled, stepping in front of you now, his crimson eyes glaring at the man with a ferocity that made your heart race. Unless you want to see what happens when you mess with us. The men exchanged glances, clearly weighing their options. One of them seemed to reconsider, his eyes darting between Bakugo and Kirishima, but the other one just smirked. Why don't you let the girl just speak for herself? He taunted, his gaze shifting to you. Maybe she doesn't need you two playing bodyguards. The anger that had been simmering in your chest finally boiled over. You stepped forward, opening your mouth to say something, but Kirishima's hand shot out, gently, but firmly pulling you back. Don't, he whispered, his voice soft but urgent. Let us handle that. Your heart pounded in your chest as you felt the tension between the two groups escalate. Kirishima's usually warm, kind at hearts. had darkened. His jaw clenched tightly as he squared off with the man. He had seen him fight before. He was strong, stronger than most were, but he also knew he hated violence. Bakugo, on the other hand, seemed to be itching for the chance. His fists were already clenched, sparks of heat crackling in the air around him. "I'll give you one more chance," he snarled, taking a step forward. "Turn around and walk away, or I swear to God you won't be walking anywhere when I'm done with you." One of the men scoffed, taking a threatening step closer. "Big words, Blondie. Let's see if you can back him up." Before he could even process what was happening, Bakugo was moving. His hand shot out, grabbing the man by the front of his shirt and shoving him back so hard that he stumbled, almost falling to the ground. The second man barely had time to react before Kirishima was in front of him, his arms defensively raised, his stance firm. "Do you really want to do this?" Kirishima asked, his voice calm but deadly serious. His usually sunny smile was nowhere to be found. The man seemed to hesitate, his eyes flicking nervously to Bakugo, who was still glaring at his friend with a murderous expression. You're crazy," the first man stammered, his confidence shaken as he staggered back on his feet. "We didn't mean anything by it." "Too late for that," Bakugo hissed, taking a menacing step forward. His hands were crackling with energy now, the familiar glow of his quirk lighting up the night. "You think you can just talk to her like that?" Your chest tightened at the protective rage in his voice. He wasn't just angry, he was furious that anyone had dared to threaten you. But before anything could escalate further, Kirishima gently placed a hand on Bakugo's shoulder, pulling him back. "Hey, let it go. They're really not worth it." For a moment, he thought Bakugo might ignore him, his muscles still tense with barely contained rage. But finally, after what felt like an eternity, he exhaled sharply. "Get the hell out of here, before I change my mind." The two men didn't need to be told twice. They turned and practically ran down the street. He let out a shaky breath. "Hey, you okay?" Kirishima turned to you, asking, his voice full of concern. "Yes, I'm fine. Just a little shaken up." Bakugo stepped closer, his hand brushing against yours. "You're tougher than that." He smiled weakly. "Thanks. Both of you." Kirishima wrapped his arm around you again, pulling you into his chest. "We'll always protect you. You know that," he said softly. Bakugo, still holding your hand, squeezed it gently. "Yes, no one's gonna touch you when we're around." And in that moment, despite the lingering fear and adrenaline, he felt safe, safer than he had ever before. Because no matter what happened, you knew that they'll have your back no matter what. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and goodbye.